Good morning, YouTubers and two bets. Quote, old dog, new tricks. Something a little bit different today. Oh, Frank's doing a vlog. Holy shit. I'll tell you why. Paul in the Philippines has started a new sensation and a new cessation. I was reading through all the comments on Old Dog, New Tricks, Paul in the Philippines, about what he's been going through with quitting smoking. And this is a great topic, and if I have to do anything on YouTube at all, this would be a great topic where we're not going to concentrate on the obvious. So why don't we just get started on this gig? Why don't we do that? Yeah, my routine. Even a little bit of honey. You know, having something control you and your emotions and everything else, you're allowing something to take over you. I never liked that. I'm not a control freak, never really was, but I've always liked to take control of things that I find necessary when it comes to me, my being, my happiness. Well, I could go through a whole list of things, really. But the one thing that's always been my crutch has always been the smoking situation. Always has been. And I don't like when something takes control of me. I remember, okay, now bring it up date. It seems that quite a bit of smokers out there, but the new generations don't smoke really as much as the old generations. There's different trends going on. But with the cost of cigarettes being what they are, what was it when I first moved out here in the Philippines? I can't remember. I don't know. What was it? 70 cents a pack or something? 70 pesos a pack, and now it's averaging 168 or some places 180. 180. That could add up to about 8,000 pesos a month. But putting the price of cigarettes to the side, which is certainly, well, it's certainly a consideration and should be, more so it's your health. Paul started doing his videos about his efforts to quit smoking. Quite a bit of responses, actually, on that. It's interesting to hear people's experiences. You get your routine, you get up in the morning, and that's the worst because you'll have more than several cigarettes in the first fucking 2 hours. It becomes routine. Now, we all make excuses for smoking, and some of the hardest times is when you are stressed about something or you're pissed off about something. That's the bad trigger points. That's definitely the bad trigger points. I remember back in Hawaii, I had quit. No, it wasn't for a long period of time. A month or two, I wasn't smoking. Brother was proud of me. I didn't need to, and I got up. I just did whatever I did. I did what I ever did during the day in Hawaii. You got to get through that breaking point. I'd say it's about 4 days, really. It's critical. For me, it was. And I could have been a non-smoker ever since, but I gotta tell you, and it's an excuse, but there was a lot of stressful factors going on with me and my brother. he just he just wasn't somebody to live next to. Okay, good guy, good heart, but you know he. Let's just say we had our stressful moments, and something happens, you get off the wagon again. So it there's always some stressor, some factor that makes you start again. And I'll give you an example, and I'll tell you where this is all leading to. But when I was working for Parks, I had quit smoking during that time too. I made an effort, and it was extremely hard. And I remember I wasn't smoking, I was giving it the old-fashioned college try. But you get a moment where you give in. So I give in, I buy a pack. And you want to reward yourself. Oh, you're done so good. You could just have another cigarette. No, 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 no. You can't do that. What I did was I bought a pack, had to spend money on a whole pack just for one cigarette. And then I would just like crunch the box, go to the nearest trash receptacle on my route, and I'd throw it in there. Then I felt guilt. You fucked up, dude. You fucked up. He took the truck, he went back to that garbage can and retrieved your pack and hoping that you didn't bust up all the cigarettes. You figure, what the fuck? And he did it again. You threw the pack away again. No, you came back and said, fuck it, I'm just going to keep whatever's left of the pack. That's what I did. That's what I did. More than one time I've done that. It's the guilt you feel on something you've been doing for how many years. Well, I've been fortunate so far. Of course, I haven't had a CT scan of my lungs, but I've had x-rays and clear lung fields and all that stuff and all that. I've even had the old flow test and all that stuff about a year or so ago, and I don't have COPD. But you see, the problem is a lot of these people who quit smoking, they quit because they were told by their doctor that you've got the beginning of emphysema, you've got COPD. Or maybe they had a heart attack or something. Oh yeah, that would kind of convince you to stop. I'm sure that would. But the whole thing is, don't wait till that happens. Actually, most people die of heart attacks rather than die of cancer with smoking than anything. Don't want to get to that point. And you could also say, look, what my age is now. Well, okay, fuck it. What's the difference? How many years you got left? Well, I could have a lot of years left if I do things the right way. So it's not a death sentence being my age. It's definitely not a death sentence. But we're all on a death sentence anyway. We don't live forever. But according to what kind of quality of life do you actually want? And how many years you got left? You got 5, you got 10, you got 15, you got 20, whatever. I talked to my uncle. Now, he never was a smoker. When he got married, he quit smoking as a younger man. He's now over 100 years old. To be exact, he's 100 years and 4. I just got off the phone with him just last night. Yeah. Of course, he's got some ailments, things he got to get shots for, needles, and, he swears he takes Gatorade is actually saving his life. He don't drink water, he drinks Gatorade. I said, Tony, whatever works for you, you made it to 100, whatever you're doing, just keep on doing. Now, Tony ate everything, and Tony was not, the best in diet. He was an eating machine. He wasn't like most of my family was anyway. They didn't watch what they ate. They never took vitamins. They never did anything like that at all. I was like the different one in the family, I remember when I didn't like my folks smoking, I used to walk around sometimes with a can of of a spray that would, make the air smell better than how I got into smoking. I can't even believe it. You look back and you say, oh shit, I wish that day never came. Because I know there's longevity on my dad's side of the family. They all lived almost to 100 or late 80s and 90s. And I'm saying genetically, well, let me see. Usually there's 25% genetics that are involved in anything from heart disease and anything else. I thought it was a lot more than that, but you have about 25% 25% genetics of your parents or whatever. About 25%, my understanding. So, I mean, that's a good start. Everybody, my father's side of the family lived a very long time, you know. And he's, proof. My Uncle Tony is actually proof of that right now. Yeah. Well, it comes to a time where you got to decide. You got to continue smoking and spending that money that could be used for something else. I mean, hell, my electric bill comes to about 8,500 pesos a month. You got to look at it in a positive way. Quit smoking, you pay a electric bill, you know. But there's a lot of things you have to add up in your mind. It's just your whole general well-being. Bad enough for me, I have chronic rhinitis, allergic rhinitis, where, I have allergies. And as a result of that, I get sinus problems all the time. And I get, running in the back of my throat. I get post-nasal drip, which makes me go all the time. I thought it was from the smoking. Well, it could be partially the dry throat, but in my case, most of the time, it's actually a post-nasal drip, they call it. All right, that's bad enough, but, why make it worse? So I'm going to be definitely making an effort myself to go in that direction. I decided to make a real vlog and not really concentrating on all the bullshit. But the one thing I will say I'll get beyond is when I get this little nickname of Dr. Nicotine, which makes me absolutely laugh. Well, not really laugh my ass off, but I chuckle about it. I'm not going to lie and say I'm sitting there rolling on the floor or something like that. But no, I get a chuckle out of that because it's two very people, and one stole that little caption from another, who stole it from who, and someone stole it from John Blaze, who, by the way, has been a smoker up to this point, and I don't know if he's still smoking, and I don't really care, but I don't know if you want to call it ironic or whatever you want to call it, but, I'm being called Dr. Nicotine by people who have smoked all their life, and somebody who has been a chain smoker all his life, and they're going to call me Dr. Nicotine. Okay. Okay. That sounds very logical. Yeah. My first sip of tea in the morning, man. It's illogical. It's ridiculous. Dr. Nicotine. Well, do you drink alcohol? I can call you Dr. Alcohol or whatever. Do you have heart problems? Do you have high blood pressure? I could call you Dr. High Blood Pressure or Dr. Diabetes or whatever. Put a label on somebody. I think that's the trend. Put a label on somebody for something. I commend anybody who has actually quit smoking. I commend them. Give them a hand. Good deal. You did something that was really hard. But some people quit for several reasons, because they developed asthmatic conditions and coughing their lungs out. We never hear that on YouTube, do we? And they know that their lungs have reached a point of no return, and the coughing episodes become very episodic and becomes very debilitating. Or when the doctor tells you that you got emphysema or something, or some form of COPD. That's all COPD. It's all in that category. Asthma is COPD. Bronchitis is COPD. All that is categorized under chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. That's what COPD is. And that it wears a lot of hats, everything from asthma, bronchitis, and stuff like that. That's all labeled under COPD. Okay, so if you don't know what COPD is, okay, yeah, all right, there you go. Now you learned. Okay, now all of us, we have, you reach over the age of 60, you're going to also have atherosclerosis. And that's something that, unfortunately, nobody could help. You could get that from when you're 40s to start, even less as you get older. So that's always a concern too. The combination of smoking doesn't help your arterial blockage and all that stuff. Nah, it doesn't help. A lot of people say, well, what age are you now? Ah, fuck it, man. Just continue smoking, man. I mean, how long do you expect to live anyway? Well, I like to live as long as I could. Yeah, that would be my choice if I have a choice, you know. I'd like to live as long as I could. So, why not? But one of the biggest problems with quitting smoking is when you're allowing stressors to interfere with that process. One might say, well, oh, this is a bad time to quit smoking. You're dealing with this, you're dealing with that, you're dealing with this. And there's a lot of truth to that. It's very hard under those circumstances. And some people have to quit because not only maybe their lungs fucked up, but they just can't afford to buy the pack of smokes, okay? That's another reason. It don't matter what their reason is. As long as they quit, that's a kudos, you know. But unfortunately, it takes an event of some sort, a heart attack or persistent, uncontrollable coughing and projectile mucus spitting to. Now, you haven't heard me cough on this whole show, have you? Okay. You might be clearing my throat, but I have not. It's not like I'm going around with projectile, you know, phlegm spitting like a dragon spitting fire. No, I've never gone to that. Although when I had pneumonia once, I had a touch of pneumonia a bunch of years ago, right out here in the Philippines. I was coughing like a son of a bitch, so they had to give me some steroids to take to calm the coughing down. So when you get a virus or anything upper respiratory and you happen to smoke, it just prolongs the healing of that virus or whatever you have. And believe me, I have gone through that many times. The bad thing is I've been on antibiotics, no more now, but it's going to take 6 months to really get my, I like to call it my flora and fauna, you know, of my body, you know, the bacteria, the good bacteria, in a state of shock because in the past 4 months or more I had respiratory infections and so forth from flus and, you know, sinus things, always from the sinus. And it wasn't pleasant. And a doctor, because of your age, would deem you to say, well, you know, you should probably be on antibiotics so it doesn't turn bacterial. And then maybe certain antibiotics didn't work, and they put me on another one. And this also happened with something else. Okay, this one is not the right one. You got to go on this. I was on antibiotics for, in this past 4 months plus, I don't know, 7 different antibiotics. Now, that is not good. I'll tell you right up straight, that's not good. No, it's not good at all. I have enough knowledge to know what antibiotics are all about. No expert, but I know a lot about them. And I don't like taking them unless you really have to. And the next thing I need is a flu shot, which I should have done while I was in Cebu the last time. I got a pneumonia vac, but I need to get a flu shot. And as you get older, you need to keep up your flu shots. I know a lot of people don't believe in that. You're thinking that maybe you're going to get something from it, because after all, what is a flu? It's basically an antibiotic is a dead, basically, bioproduct that your body recognizes and says, oh, okay, and goes into action to get the bacteria, but your body's going to recognize it, even though you're actually introducing, like when you get a pneumonia, you're actually introducing the actual, shall I call it a contagion, into your body, and your body reacts to block it. Okay, but it also does good. And it's just kind of complicated to explain, but generally a lot of the immunizations you're getting is actually an actual product of the thing that you don't want. So your body basically recognizes this. If it comes again, it's going to fight it. All right, that's as much as I'm going to get into that, you know. I don't want to get into that too much. But anyway, yeah, quitting smoking, you set a quit date, and you don't talk about it to anyone. You don't talk about it because then you're afraid of the guilt, because if you go back to smoking, I mean, I'm going to have one right now. I mean, I haven't started. I'm going to have one right now. This is what I mean. I've been up early. I've already had probably over 4 cigarettes, but I get up at about 4:30 in the morning. is my average. And what it really comes down to is it's breaking a routine. What do you normally do about when do you usually, like right now, when do you usually have one? You have a routine when you get up in the morning, you're going to take a piss, do what you have to do, take care of business. You probably go out. I don't never smoke in the house. I don't smoke around anybody. I'm what you call a polite smoker. And there's some people that just don't give a fuck. They go around little babies and smoke and say, I have the right to smoke. Yeah, your parents smoke around. Have you ever heard that story? We won't get into that. You ever heard that story? I did. Yeah, I certainly did. Right. No respect at all. You have to have respect. If you're going to smoke, you need to have respect for the people around you that may not like it. And by the way, it is true what they say about people who quit smoking are the worst critics about anybody else smoking. Oh, they are the worst. They're worse than non-smokers. Keep that in mind. So, you have to get to the point where you hate cigarettes, you hate smoke, and you have to convince yourself it's your enemy. But you know what? Sometimes people get a little bit carried away when they become non-smokers after quitting, and they highly critique other people to be less than human, third-class citizens who smoke. And your mind works that way. It really does. I've been around this situation. I used to know this girl, Leslie. Cigarettes. I used to talk about this all the time. She was a girlfriend of mine at first, but she really liked me and all that. But the one thing she didn't like is the fact that I smoked. When I met her, it was actually at a club. We used to go out, dance, and have a couple of beers. And a group of us used to go out on the weekends in Seattle. And I met Leslie, cute gal. She was a dope. And the one thing, she liked me. Then I started lighting up a cigarette, and it was like her friends to me on the side. Yeah, she really likes you, but the thing that you smoke, and all that. I think that was the deterrent. I sat on water. That was the deterrent, I think, in procuring. Well, there's other factors too, but don't need to go into that. But they'll try to label you as a third-class citizen if you smoke. But then people were heavy drinkers, but God forbid you would critique them for their drinking. Oh, that's different. They could drink it, it's all right. But if you smoke, pardon me, we're back to normal. If I go outside in a certain area, it's kind of a dead zone for my internet. So we'll go somewhere else. Okay. It's a known social thing. Everybody's standing around with a glass of their favorite alcoholic beverage, champagne or whatever the hell it is. Everybody, that's how they connect. People connect. Smokers might hang out with other smokers. Drinkers hang out with other drinkers. They hang out in bars. A lot of expats go to bars. And that's their existence of come to the Philippines. Hanging around in bars. You could have done that in America or wherever you lived. But you come out here and you hang around in bars. You smoke and you drink and you cavort and chase ass and all that other shit, right? Yeah. But you see at all these social events, there's always alcohol involved. Always. Everybody, because that's their social tool. See, that drink in your hand is your license to communicate with others in the room. You approach people with the drink in your hand. It's your imaginary friend. It's your confidant. And you approach other people, and they got a drink in their hand, and you got a drink in your hand, and that gives you poetic license to approach them. I guess maybe you've never seen life as such like this. I mean, in a explain exactly. That's their way of approaching somebody else. Non-smokers will generally not go out on their lunch breaks and hang around with people that are smoking. But the smokers, they call it the smoker's corner or whatever, and they will go out and they'd light up, and it's a happy group. It's a club. It's exactly what it is. It's a club. It's an organization. And that's what people do, same as drinkers. They hang around bars that other people like to drink. I used to be encouraged to drink when I'd go out. I remember my friend Ted, who happened to be an African-American guy, if that matters. Just to be descriptive of Ted, which I don't need to use skin color, but just to define, because he was kind of an interesting character. and I think I've talked about him before. Really interesting character, but I was always kind of shy, believe it or not. I was always kind of shy in bar situations. Yeah, imaginary friend. Yeah, exactly. I would, come on, have another beer. Oh, yeah, you have to join them because you're part of the group. They're all drinking, but they're drinking, they're having shots and all kinds of stuff. And me, I was just into beer. And occasionally I'd have a rum and coke. That was it. That was my wildest. But the most wildest time that I ever had with drinking beer, and I remember it vividly. It was in Seattle, and it was a Halloween party that I attended to. There's one chick I was hanging around all night, and the beers just kept on going down. Music was playing all night. I've never been so outward in my entire life. I'm not one to dance, except if I'm in a dense crowd and I just kind of blend in. But me and her, we were dancing all fucking night. Beer after beer. They had a keg and all that, and I kept on filling up my glass. And, God, I forgot her name. But I was dancing with her all freaking night. Or half the night, be realistic, really. Drinking away, and it was like water. It went down like water. I said, holy shit, did I really do that? Boy, talk about your inhibitions going out the window. Mine certainly did. Went right out the window, totally uninhibited. I let my freak flag fly, whatever, and, I had fun, But also realizing that fun doesn't come from drinking. It might release some, inhibitions, if you want to call it that. And it does. And sometimes you make stupid decisions. But I had quit having anything to do with social drinking when, of course, I was raising my daughter. And first of all, I had a car that stood out. It was a 70, I don't know, what was it, 73 Nova, red, big block engine, a V8, noisy motherfucker. And I remember that night I was at a place called Sparky's. And I left and didn't realize how much I drank until I got behind the wheel. And I said, whoa. Now, I take responsibility seriously. And I'm raising my daughter. She was a teenager already. And I was able, without a babysitter that night, actually, because we had the neighbor there, I was able to go out, prearrange everything and all that. But I figured this big responsibility, oh my God, what if I get stopped by a cop or something? It doesn't look good being a single parent raising his daughter, And I had to navigate my way home and very carefully because I didn't realize how fucked up I was. I mean, I was pretty fucked up because that night I had a number of beers and a number of rum and cokes. And I was really fucked up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I showed the picture of my, I don't know where it is right now. It's in a box, or I'd show you it again. I bought this for a good price, too. It was such an obvious car, though. I had long hair at the time, and I'm driving this fucking car, and it was a cop attention getter, And believe me, it happened because I left my condo. I used to live in a condo. I was going to buy it on this small lake, off the main highway, Highway 99 in Seattle, North Seattle. And I lived there. And one day I was going to the dentist, which is right around the corner, by the way. Get in your car out of the parking lot, go around the corner. There was a dentist, but I had neglected to put my seatbelt on. And there was a cop. Then he noticed that I noticed him, and I put the seatbelt on, but it was too late because he saw that. I didn't get away with it. And then, double jeopardy. So he stops me right at the dentist parking lot. Lights flashing, got a car, let me show your ID. That whole bit and all that. As it turned out, to make things worse. I was driving around for a year, and I didn't know it, with not a valid license, because what happened was I had another seatbelt violation, big crime, on my record. And what happened was I had paid a fine that time. It was a year before, or whatever it was. And I paid the whole fine, but there was apparently some little penalty fee, like, talking $8 or something. I thought all that was paid because I never received anything in the mail, never, saying that never received anything in the mail. So I was driving around without, a valid license for a year, and I swear to you, I never knew anything about it. I thought I paid the fine. Well, apparently I didn't, so let's move on. So he stops me. It's like a big event, big criminal. The motherfucker handcuffs me, embarrassing, in front of my dentist office. I said, well, can I, put my car back in the driveway? Right around the corner, folks, right around the corner, the condos. Okay? Now, all right, so my now nemesis, but former kind of coworker friend, Ken, was living in the same condo complex I lived in. I called him up. He didn't answer because he was in the bathroom at the time, and I finally got through. A little late. They confiscated my car and put it in the lot, to hold on to, and I had to wind up paying a big old fee to get that out. Oh yeah, they went and fingerprinted me. Wow, big situation over, an $8 deal that I wasn't even aware of. The embarrassment of being handcuffed like some kind of common criminal. Yeah, embarrassing. And I had to pay the fine for the license deal because, and then, of course, for the driving without the seatbelt. And I had to pay a ridiculous amount of money to get that car out of the lot, and the fine and fees. So I was between paychecks at the time, so Ken paid that for me, then I paid him back when I got paid. But that was the episode of my biggest crimes. And in my 70 years, I don't have any criminal record. But for something as small as that really pissed me off. Well, the cops in the Seattle area, they were fucking pigs. Yeah, there are cops that are pigs, and there are decent cops. And I've experienced both. They have a quota to fill when they go out on the road, and you got to get so many ticketers. We got to bring in money to the city, get as many people for speeding and seatbelt violations as you can. Yeah, G-Boom says, the Dumber drama is fun, but Frank's stories are 100 times better. Yeah, I miss my Nova, actually. It had mag wheels in there, and but it was too obvious, It was kind of loud, to be honest with you. It had a V8. I don't know. It wasn't a small block either. I'm trying to remember back, But that was a powerful fucker. Powerful fucker. And I'd go on a date with my girlfriend at the time, doctor's daughter, and, I was anything that you would probably want from a girl who has a father who's a doctor. He has a guy with kind of like semi-long hair, and he's got this kind of souped up Nova, and and one of the stupidest things I did was I had a perfectly good, what the hell was it, man? I had this perfectly good car. What the hell was it? Oh man, there was no sports car, nothing. Because a friend of mine had a Trans Am, I mean original, 76, that she bought back in 76. And it's actually, she's like in her 80s now, still has it. That car is worth like 60 grand or something, you know. Beautiful Trans Am, orange, you know, original everything, man. Except for some engraving that she did on the window, you know. Still has it, still alive. And I wanted to get a sports car. So across the street from where I lived from the condo off the highway, there was a car lot. And I saw this Trans Am. Oh God, I can't believe I went to trade in plus cash, plus 400, my car for this older Trans Am. What a mistake that was. The minute I remember, there's no lemon laws, you know. The minute I got off the lot, there were big problems with that, big arguments with him. And, well, you know, unless he specifically, if they specifically said no return, you know, there's a lemon law that applies to certain things in Seattle, but it doesn't apply to others. And, you know, I was stuck, so I had to wind up selling that. Then I made a mistake of buying a 260Z, another mistake, where the chassis on there was ready to bend in half on the next bump. I gotta have a sports car. You know, I had to have a sports car. I used to love the Z's, you know, the design and all that stuff. And again, I made bad choices. So it's a matter of making bad choices. Bad choices. And we all make bad choices in life, whether it's drinking, smoking. So the initial issue or the topic of this show does have to do with smoking. And I really get a laugh when somebody calls me Dr. Nicotine, because the very people who were calling me that were avid smokers, one of them being a chain smoker. And the only reason he's not smoking is because, well, he can't afford the cigarettes, or doesn't want to put the money out, or he has lung problems going on as a result of it. You know, the other one who originally coined the phrase Dr. Nicotine was also an avid smoker. Whether he's still smoking, I don't know. He claims he quit, but I don't believe anybody on here. I really don't. I have a lot of reason not to. Dr. Nicotine, that's I don't know, like an oxymoron or something. I don't know. Contradictory, whatever terminology you want that will apply to this. People who are avid smokers is now calling people names because, well, if I had to, you know, call every drinker some fucking name, that would encompass quite a few people. I don't go around calling them Dr. Alcoholic. No, I don't do that. It's your gig, whatever you do in life socially. If you want to drink, you want to smoke, it's your gig. It's really up to you what you want to do about it. Do you care about yourself at all? Well, you don't give a shit. Figure we're all going to die anyway of something. I've met a lot of people who really go by that theory of, or that train of thought. Yeah, that train of thought. Now, we're not trying not to talk about trolls on here, G. Boone. The only reason I'm doing a show today, okay, is to get off the topic matter other than making a mention by need of comparing, you know, situations where someone's calling me Dr. Nicotine and they were chain smoking like a mofo running from a cop or something, you know. And when you're running from the law, you're going to run fast, whether you're athletic or not, whether you have good lungs or not. You're going to run. And a lot of people run. Anyway. Oh, well, and anyway, yeah, let's continue on with this. Yeah, Paul is creating quite a sensation and a cessation out there. Paul in the Philippines was doing his gig about his health. It's unfortunate, though, that a lot of us, and so far hopefully it's not applying to me, because I'm sure there's always lung damage. Of course there is, after how many years of smoking. The difference is how much lung damage. Because here's the deal, and I don't want to get into medical shit, which will totally turn you off and bore the hell out of you. But as long as you have cells in your lungs that are still good, okay, you're okay. But when you get to the point where you kill all the good cells, then your lungs are not going to go into any healing process at all. And I don't want to get to that point when the cilia is all gone. It's all damaged anyway. But the reason somebody coughs their lungs out, and I promise, I won't get into a big medical spiel, okay? But it's still on topic, okay? And please just allow me to do this, is because the cilia, which actually moves the mucus out, is non-existent or is damaged, and therefore you're going to build up a lot of mucus. You got to cough it out. Projectile phlegm throwing. God, which brings me to some thoughts of somebody. I thought it was gross as shit. No, I've never done any projectile vomit, mucus thing. When I had pneumonia, yeah, I went to a cough and spasm. And sometimes if I ever had a respiratory illness, due to my... And you know what? I pretty much figured it out. And this is something I guess I'm going to have to look into. I did go to an ENT person, ear, nose, and throat. And there is evidence of a slightly deviated septum in one of my sinuses. Yes, that can cause the problems I have with the sinuses as things build up behind the septum, and you're going to have these spasms of, sinus problems and all that stuff. It's something that I'll look into in the near future. I'll get around to it, So I had to make more tea here. Same tea bag. I'm just getting as much out of this as I can. So yeah, I get a kick out of Dr. Nicotine. And I laugh at that. Not a belly laugh, but I snicker when I hear that, because the very people that are labeling me that are people that were avid, or maybe even still are, avid smokers. I have never done anything to do with nicotine. Yeah, the hell you were. You were a fucking chain smoker, mofo. Yeah, I suppose I should label everybody for what their disease is. If you got diabetes, I guess I should call you Dr. Diabetes. Or if you drink, Dr. Alcohol, If you got high blood pressure, I should call you Dr. Hypertension. Everybody labels somebody for something, right? It kind of seems that way. Everybody needs a label. I don't know why, but it's just a person's way of digging it into somebody. Try to find some fault with somebody and just dig in on it deep. Yeah. G. Boone says, I agree that you have a YouTube PhD. Jack Doe says, I can't keep a woman, I can't stop drinking and gambling. Well, a lot of people have those problems. I could be a bastard and say, that's a personal problem, buddy. That's, handle it. Handle it. But no, I do have compassion for people who have developed a habit of some sort, the average person in these days, you go in their bathroom closet, whatever, their medicine cabinet, they probably have about 3 different medications at least that they're taking for something when you reach a certain age. Me, I got 2. That's it. And for the same thing. Okay. And I don't take any other medicines for diabetes. I don't take any medicines for high blood pressure because I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have any of those problems. Thank goodness for small miracles. But as you get older, things sometimes develop, and, well, it's sort of kind of an expectation. You ever hear of some people that never got sick a day in their life? Well, they got some fantastic genes, and I don't mean some Wranglers. They got some fantastic genes. Some people are like that. And I envy these people. I said, wow, man, you serious? You never been to the hospital for anything? Come on, you must have tonsils or something, tonsillitis or something. But no, there's some people out there that's never even gone to a goddamn doctor. And I'm saying, really, man? That sounds pretty incredible to me. I don't know how believable it is, but yeah, there are people out there that actually do, let's see. we got some idiot on here, and I could just wonder who that is. I'm not even gonna. It's not even worth a response. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, if you're gonna quit smoking, you gotta really mean it. You gotta do it. You gotta stick to it. And I know that it's really hard. That when you go into some stressful times, or moments, or events, or whatever, it makes it even harder. And then you're gonna have that excuse. Well, no. When this blows over, or whatever the case may be, then I'll quit. It's really making a bunch of excuses all the time. Just like when I said, when the times I quit and I'd reward myself with a cigarette. Go ahead, buy a full pack. Oh, I only need one. I haven't smoked in a month. I deserve that. No, that's the worst thing in the world you could ever do. Because you're a cigarette away from continuing smoking again and buying another pack. And I was listening to Paul, and it's exactly as some of what his commenters said too. You find an excuse to smoke, you're always going to find an excuse, okay? You're always going to. Same with alcohol. And a lot of people say, I'm not an alcoholic. I hear that all the time. But these are people that regularly attend these bars all the time in the Philippines. I'm not an alcoholic. No, I could think of somebody else, no name, said he wasn't an alcoholic, but I don't ever remember the person not drinking and buying Jack Daniels and everything else all the time. Usually on somebody else's dime, but nevertheless, there's always drinking involved. It gets to a point that you can't meet up with people unless there's drinking involved. Social meetings, drinks. And that's the only way they can communicate with each other is drinking. Okay? It's a social thing. Hey, let's go meet up for some drinks. They get soured, and some of them act like a total asshole. And that's one of the reasons I also never got into drinking. I mean, real drinking. And I used to see when I go to these clubs, these were clubs, I call them clubs. It was just basically bar restaurants that had live bands. It was fun to go to and all that. And, I always found them to be fun to go to. And, you got to get out with the guys every now and then, I was taking care and raising my child. But I had to have some time for myself. So whenever they were available on the weekends, because I'd never really go alone to an establishment like that. I just was meeting people. Then I'd go, okay. But, then, you let loose a little bit. You have a couple of beers. Wow, you're letting loose a couple of beers, man. Then a couple of Cokes, rum and Cokes and all that, Bacardi or whatever. That's the wildest I ever got, really. And, it was more like peer pressure, and also a combination of balls, getting your balls to be bigger than they are, because I've always been rather a shy person. I have. I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth. I met Mick Fisher. He could tell you. When I met him, I was still kind of shy. I wouldn't always look at him in the face, in the eyes sometimes. I'm kind of a shy person, believe it or not. I am. I still have those elements of shyness with me. When you meet new people and stuff like that. I exhibit it sometimes. But once I get to know somebody, that all goes away. Just like in the bar situation, the dance clubs, once the ice was broken with some chick, and I knew she had an interest in me, I was hell on wheels. There was no stopping me. I was great once the ice was broken. Of course, if you had a couple of beers or something, it kind of releases some of your inhibitions, and you wind up being a little bit braver. But, you don't want to depend on a chemical to, allow you to be social, okay? But I think too many people rely on that. But some people, though, they can't control their liquor. They get cantankerous, they get cocky, and they get into bar fights and get bottles busted over their head and stuff like that. I mean, that never happens, does it, And, they do it all on their own. If you can't control your liquor, don't drink it. Drink it at home or something. Don't go out to a public place and get rowdy and get really belligerent, because it's not a good formula to walk out of there unscathed. I mean, some people get killed from shit like that. So I'm very happy to say that alcohol has never been a majority of my life or even part of my life, except back in the days when I'd go out occasionally on the weekends, weekend warrior, if you want to call a warrior, a couple of buds, and possibly, chased down by one or two rum and cokes. Yeah, it wasn't exactly a weekend warrior, really, but when I used to just, see the behavior of people who were drinking, and how ridiculous they looked and acted, that was another deterrent. You'd be like, yeah, drink. Oh, fuck that shit. I mean, that's what they sounded like. They were so soured, they were plowed, they were inebriated. Couldn't even make sense when they talked. And then some people wouldn't realize, then they'd get kind of cocky, because that's what it does. It's call it beer muscle. We know a few people who have beer muscle, beer pertaining to all alcohol, hard drinks, soft drinks, just call it beer muscle, who will run their mouths and basically, hey, I'm someone to contend with, man. Don't fuck with me. It's the fucking beer talking, I call it beer muscle, And they will do things that are really stupid. And they wind up getting their ass kicked. That's what happens with beer muscle. Happens in all the bars all over the world, USA and everywhere. Everybody gets beer muscle. And it gets them in jail or gets their ass knocked on the floor or worse. I'm very proud to say that although I've been smoking, I never really partaked in any kind of regular drinking of any sort, except for the rare moments I used to go out to the clubs. That was it. It was social drinking. It wasn't even hardly that. But I used to be pushed by my peers. Come on, have it here. I'll buy you another beer. I'm all right. Nah, come on. That's just the way it happens, Have another beer, man. Hey, I'll even buy you a rum and coke on me, buddy. Yeah, that's how it goes. Because everybody wants to be part of the crowd. Stefan says I never really drank, as I always want to be in control of myself. If something happened when I was out, you never know. Well, that's true. You're not thinking very clearly. Somebody could roll you. Do you remember when Sentai? I got to mention this, though. Please excuse me. Sentai and his friend got rolled. No, he's never cheated on Trixie, but we don't really want to get into heavy on that, except I want to give you a prime example that I could think of, and just at the thought in my mind. When he went out and he drank a lot, him and his friend went out, and they even wind up renting a hotel, and they went out and got plowed, and they met a couple of whores, and whatever they did. Trixie was aware of it, because she got mad at him. You remember that incident. I still really want to go heavy into it, But, he got rolled for one of his cameras, both their money. And a lot of chicks will do that, They'll let you get drunk and stuff and say, yeah, let's go to a hotel, have some fun. And they wait till you're so fucking plowed that you don't know what the fuck is going on. So they're going to be going in your wallet, take your photographic gear, whatever, and you're not even going to know it until you wake up and sober up, and then realize I just been rolled, man. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Not to me, it is. I never had a situation like that, although my brother, well, he had many situations of such. Oh, damn, did he? He used to share his stories with me. I said, I couldn't believe it, man. Couldn't believe it. But some people can have money in their hands, because that's where it's going to go, to illicit shit. And I remember when my brother, he had a horrific work accident. He had to have a steel bar in his leg, and oh God, he had a structure fell on him. He was doing casual labor. Geez, what he went through. Okay, where was I going with this? Okay. And he collected a little bit of money from a company, responsible for this. And he just fucking pissed it out and it went up his nose, and he took chicks to Vegas, and Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, he pissed it all away. Oh, he managed to give me 5, and that helped me with some of the building thing on my house in Hawaii, 5,000, But it went up his nose and went out to the girls. That's a whole different story. And my brother always told me, I don't totally regret what I did. I had fun. I said, fun? Look how much trouble you were in and out of all the time. You had fun? Really? Getting his ass beat up, almost being hung from a building in Harlem. I said, you call that fun? I said, I don't call that fun. Anyway, you had a co-worker at Christmas party. He got so drunk and embarrassed himself badly, he stopped showing up to work and quit. Yeah, that happens. And you're going to feel guilty for whatever habits you have. I mean, these generations now is less smoking, and that's a good thing. People are smoking less, the new generation, the millennials, whatever you want to call them. The woke generation, God, I hate that one. Everybody has to be labeled. The generation has to be labeled. Whether you're baby boomers or Generation X, and now what is the latest? Is the woke people? What is this, an organization or something? Or, the woke people. Reminds me of a sci-fi movie or something. I can't think of the name of it. Join us, join us. I think that was Soylent Green or something, Soylent Green. Okay, there might be a little Join us. That's exactly what it is. You want to be part of the crowd? Join us. Join us. We'd love to have you in our crowd. Drink as much as we do, smoke as much, too many drugs. Join us, man. The only time I ever took a really dangerous drug, and it wasn't even potent. And when I had an apartment over in Seattle, and some people came over. Yeah, Soylent Green, yeah. And they had some orange, what was it? Orange Sunshine. You know what that is, right? Blots. And we've all had one. And if anything, I just felt high. But I noticed everybody around me and how paranoid they were. It was funnier than shit. Because especially a friend Tim at the time, he was really paranoid. And people would react to the stupidest things. If the curtain moved from the wind, someone might laugh. And then that would cause a chain reaction. Everybody else was laughing. And I'm saying, what the fuck? No, I didn't hallucinate anything like that. I don't think they were strong. But then again, I'm not an expert on that. The first time I ever did anything like that. Okay, just bear with me. You might get a little disconnect here and there. I never got into that kind of illicit type of drugs. I'm very happy to say that. And why? Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Because I seen what my brother went through. And he was my deterrent of ever getting into that shit. You would think the brother of somebody who was doing that would get into that kind of shit, but I never did. I never allowed myself to get into taking these type of illicit drugs, street drugs and all. He smoked pot a lot and he drank, but he never, he might have gave into something at one point or another while in Hawaii. I'm pretty sure at one point he probably did. But he never continued. He had to quit smoking. But the damage was already done. He had emphysema, he was on oxygen, all that stuff. If I got to that point, certainly I'd be off. But point is, don't wait till I'm trying to say. Because unfortunately, with a lot of people, they wait until something really destructive happens to you. And then you have no choice. Paul, for example, and that's how I got into this thing. He realized that he had a touch of emphysema, blah, blah, blah. He was coughing, all this other shit that went on. And he realized that, it's do or die. I got to do this or I'm not going to do this. So he decided to do it. But it's unfortunate that a lot of people have to wait till something actually happens with them. I don't like being controlled by something. You know, there are certain things that you have to take because they work. For example, if you've got diabetes, you got to take diabetes medicine. If you have hypertension, you got to take medicine for that. So why not take something that's going to handle if you got anxiety or you can't sleep? I go by the theory: if it works, do it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my way of thinking. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if something works for you, and I don't mean illicit drugs, if something works for you, get something under control, whether you have that diabetes, type 1, type 2, whatever, or pre-diabetic, or you have high blood pressure, whatever your problem might be. Now, I'll guarantee that most of these YouTubers are taking some kind of medicine for something. Well, they're certainly not going to talk about it. Oh, hell no, they're not going to talk about it because they're perfect. Well, you'd be surprised probably what you see in their medicine cabinets that they're not going to talk about to you. But they're quick to criticize you because you're taking prescription medicines. Prescription, not street drugs, is a big difference. If you need something, you take it. That's just the way it is. You have that choice of doing that or not, or suffer the consequences of not taking it. And you have that choice. Medicinal things, and you always will have that choice. It either works or it doesn't. If it doesn't, you don't take it. But I can imagine that any one of the people, was there 16 on here? I'm sure there's how many people on here that drink or smoke or do both or are taking some meds for high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever it might be. It is what it is. You take what you need to take. If it's necessary to take it, if it's not necessary, then you just make that conscious choice. No, I just won't take it. And that goes around for everything, for alcohol, smoking, all that shit. If you could find a way to make it happen, you make it happen. But you got to really devote yourself to do that. You got to think in terms of expense, which is not the big thing to think about. You got to think of terms of general health. How long do you really want to live? That you just resolve to the fact that, oh, I'm to a certain age. What does it matter at this point? It's that kind of thinking that makes you continue doing what you're doing. Why wait for a horrible event? I mean, there's things you can't prevent, like a kidney stone. You never knew you had it, and boom, well, that happened to me. I certainly did. And, you got to listen to some of these stories on people who've had that shit. And let me tell you, that's almost as painful or more than a sciatica episode. And unless you've had it, you would not understand how painful that actually is. Believe me, my girlfriend knows. She's seen me at my worst with that. And the time, 5 years ago, whatever it was, I had this sciatica shit. I hope that doesn't happen again. I don't know what's worse. I don't know. I think they're both were horrible. But neither one of them do I want to have again. So you always got to be aware of the fact that it could happen again. And just try to do certain things that might help prevent. For example, with stones, it's, imperative that you drink a lot of extra water every single day. This way you could flush out the toxins in your kidneys and all that, in your liver and all that stuff. So that's how that works. But a good number of people are walking around with stones. They don't even have an idea they have it, whether it's gallbladder or kidney stones, and they are not aware of it. And that's the way it works. You're not aware of it until an episode happens. That's just the way it works. I never expected. I had it once before. Many moons ago in Seattle. I drove myself to the hospital in the middle of the night, okay, and boy, did that hurt like a son of a bitch. Couldn't tell where the pain was coming from because it radiated. It turned out a stone that I wound up passing, but this was a situation, it was too big to pass. So henceforth, you got infection, pain, real lovely shit, that nobody wants, and you actually wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. And I could wish things on my enemies, but that's one thing I just don't wish on anybody, really. Too much pain, too much pain. And you have to go through it to understand what I'm talking about on there anyway. Anyway, bottom line is, I think you have to really want to do something, and you got to put your mind to it, set a date and all that. If you want to, for example, you want to take the gum or whatever it is, you could do that. But as Paul was talking about, and he's timed it out, as analytical as he is, he timed it out. If you can get by 10 minutes without doing it, the urge will go away, and you just keep on doing that. and whatever else you want to do. I think he started off with some nicotine gum or something like that, or patches or something. The only problem with that, you're still introducing nicotine to your system, but at least, it gets the urge away. So it's really like, whatever works for you. And it's really the habit, hand to mouth, is what it really is. And while you're smoking, you used to doing something with your mouth, you're having a cigarette, whatever, sucking a lollipop or whatever the hell you have to do, really. But, you have to really set a date for something like that. And you got to build up to it, get your psyche going, and just say, when you start finishing that pack, say, no, no more. It don't matter what's going on in your life, because there's always going to be stressors in your life somewhere along the line. A lot of people do have stressors, but that it's going to exist whether you smoke or not. But the problem is, you add together the fact that you're quitting, and then you might have a stressor in your life going on, and it makes it even harder. But that's just more of the challenge, I guess, of what you have to actually go through on there. So Paul started off a little campaign, basically. And I was reading all the comments on there on this show about people who did quit or planning to quit because of his show. So I guess Paul did a service, I wasn't, I wasn't nursed as a baby. That is why I smoke cigars. Well, it could be what do you call that? What is the word for that? Yeah. Yeah, you need something in your mouth. Yeah, you need something in your mouth. There's just some truth to that, really. I mean, you're joking around probably, but I think there is actually some truth to that. Yeah, he wasn't nursed. I don't know. I don't know. Guys have an infatuation with women's breasts anyway. Either they were nursed or they weren't nursed, but technically, what do you think of breasts? They're mammary glands. Guys are fascinated with the size or look of mammary glands. It's just really amazing in itself, actually. When you really want to get technical about it, guys are attracted to women's boobs, and women know it, and they'll do everything they can to show people that, hey, I got a nice rack on here. And guys are attracted to that, and just like some chick's ass. I mean, it's a natural attraction. And, when you really want to boil it down, a woman's breasts are mammary glands to feed a child, to feed an infant. But guys think about it differently. We already got this oral fixation, which you might be right. It's an oral fixation. You got to have something in your mouth, whether it's your mother's tit or. But the craziest thing that I've ever known of or seen is that there were kids that were like 5 years old or more, still nursing on their mother. Now that is a little bizarro world right there. That shouldn't be allowed, really. The kid, even older than that, I know of cases of that. It's insane. Well, not insane, but it's unusual. You weren't nursed as a baby. All right. Well, that could have something to do with that. I don't know. What the hell do I know? Whether you're joking or not, but there's some reality to that. So everybody's so fixated on women's breasts, and why? Because it fed you when you were an infant, okay, and you were being nursed. A lot of people have, some people weren't. It's a fixation on breasts because just like we're attracted to water, we like to be near the ocean. Anything to do with water. Oh, the ocean is so beautiful. It's because our body is made of over 70% water. We live and we rely on water. And water tends to be calming to us because water is the element that keeps us alive, and our body is made up of over 70% water. All the organs, everything in your body, made up of water. And there's no wonder that we're attracted to water, and that we find, looking at the waves coming in at the ocean, we find it relaxing, and we're drawn to the ocean. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for just about everything. If you're an idiot, because you were fucking always an idiot, there's a reason for anything. and we get attracted to certain things like the ocean for a reason, okay? For a reason. We depend on water. We live by water. There's not a creature on earth that doesn't need water from a fucking bacteria all the way to a fucking elephant. Everything needs water. Plants, animals need water to survive. It's a natural instinct and need for our bodies to have water to function. Okay, so we don't want to get into that, but I'm just making a point out of it. We get attracted to stuff for natural reasons, and whether it's some women's breast, and it's all you ever hear guys talking about, she got a set on her and all that. And, when you really get it down to, the bottom line is that you relate to that as you were nursed by those lovely looking breasts. Okay. You were nursed. And if you try to separate yourself from that thought, you think to yourself, why am I attracted to women's breasts? It's really an easy answer, you know. When you really think about it, it's just they're mammary glands. They were made for a purpose, but guys go all yah over a woman's breast. It's amazing. Some people like small ones, big ones, huge ones. 40 triple D. That's kind of outrageous. Imagine the back problems that chick has. You're attracted to something, whether it's her ass, the reasons for that. Look at the fucking baboons. Some of them have these fucking painted asses, the females, different colors which attract the males. Or they might make a certain sound. Or some birds go into a bizarro world dance. It's just amazing what Mother Nature does to attract other, you know, a mate. Isn't Mother Nature pretty wild? It's amazing. Of course, I've seen all these documentaries on animals and stuff and what they do to attract their mates. It's just absolutely mind blowing. Mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. Anyway, enough of that. Um, okay, anybody want to add any more comments, please do. I'm not going to be on here much longer. I just wanted to address the issue of smoking. And this actually was a planned show today because I was listening to Paul. And it's a good thing that he's actually talking about that. I don't generally listen to Paul very much, really. I find his laugh to be pretty irritating, but yeah, he got tired of the coughing. He got tired, well, especially when he gets the results of his lungs. And he said, "You got a touch of emphysema." Yeah, that'll drive people probably to quit smoking. But that's the problem. And the point is not to wait till something catastrophic. You think my brother liked being on oxygen? Got to a point that they wanted him to be on it 24 hours, and he probably wasn't. That's probably why he died. You know, in consideration of a bunch of other illnesses he had at the same time, and having unmanaged health care, which is so prevalent, and how many issues you can't handle them all at once, and a lot of doctors don't want to handle all of them, and you're not getting proper, type of managed care. It makes things go out of control. And you got too many things to think about, to handle. And that's what happened in his case. But he's at peace wherever he is. And I know what he went through. I know firsthand. I know firsthand. And I was always there to care for him, despite what people think. But I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I went out of my way, actually, more than any family member would have or tried or whatever. I was there. That's the main thing. I was there and I know it. And he knew it. He appreciated it. And now he's gone. I could live with myself very well, thank you. And despite our opposition, we loved each other. Uh, but he had so many medical problems and turned psychological, really, that it was really hard to kind of deal with. But I did. I did. You have to say to yourself, I understand, or try to understand what they're going through. And then you could tolerate it just a little bit better. No one's perfect in any means, but some people have a lot of problems. And sometimes it's really hard to deal with certain people, especially when they're stubborn or cocky. You can't get rid of that. There's no remedy for that. Cockiness is just ingrained. There's no remedy. Whoever's cocky is going to continue to be cocky and they get themselves in trouble all the time. It's a waste of time to even make an effort to try to have them find remedy for that or tell them to stop being cocky or being obnoxious and belligerent and all that stuff. Forget about it. Just don't even entertain the thought because it's just not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. It never does. It never will. It's something that's ingrained in a person and you know, I don't even think a hypnotist could work on that. Seriously. I'm not even sure medicine could work on that. You know, I just think it's an impossibility. Either you're cocky and obnoxious and belligerent or you're not. And some people fit all the categories. And if you think they're going to change, don't hold your breath because you'll be dead. Some people cannot change in combination with they don't want to change or they're in total denial that they're doing anything wrong at all. Now we don't know anybody like that, do we? I can't think of anybody at the moment. No, nothing comes to mind really. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show and just kind of in retrospect of listening to Paul actually and who puts out some really good points. I kind of been through in the past what he's going through because I did quit several times and gives me a little motivation actually to do so. Now, I'm not going to tell, well, because I'm not exactly a regular on here doing shows, but my statement was going to be is I'm not going to kiss and tell when I quit because it's very easy for people to attack you and say, yeah, see, you couldn't do it. You didn't have the willpower to do it. That's why you don't tell anybody that you're doing it. You just do it. And after maybe 6 months or something, then if you decide to do a show or whatever, or tell anybody outside of YouTube, then you can say, yeah, it's been 6 months now, whatever it's been. They might say, I haven't noticed you smoke anymore. Unless they bring it up. You say, no, I quit 6 months ago, whatever. That's all. But it takes a lot of diligence to quit anything. I don't care what it is, illicit drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, you name it. It takes a lot of willpower. And the strongest are able to achieve their goal. But it takes a lot of work. And psychologically speaking, it takes a lot of work with that. Because you got to know what, again, the famous words are trigger points. What is your trigger point for smoking? You have a routine that you do every single day. You know what you're going to do when you get up. Sometimes it's after an activity. It could be after a meal, a stressful moment, or, I'll tell you what thing I always did, and I think Paul was doing the same thing. I could definitely relate if we're in Cebu, we're going to go into a mall, and I figure we're going to be in there for quite a while. I'll say, okay, well, go ahead and meet you in there. I'm going to have a smoke before I go in. Every time. Every time. Every single time. Or we're going to go in a restaurant, whatever. Or maybe I get off a trike somewhere over here, maybe we'll go to a restaurant or whatever. I have a smoke. There's always a reason. There's uh, that triggers you. Routine. It's routine is what it is. If you could bust out of that routine, then you could quit. I mean, I've done it. I've done it in the past, except I let things bother me at the point where I said, fuck this, I'm going to smoke. Fuck it. Fuck it. My brother pissed me off or something or whatever. I said, fuck it. Or maybe something happened in my life that I didn't like. And I just said, oh, fuck this shit. I'm giving in. You see, that's the kind of stuff you have to fight. It's going to happen. I'm going to tell you, if you're going to decide to quit, It's going to happen. You got your triggers. You got your triggers. It's going to happen. But it takes a lot of willpower to say, no, I don't want to wind up like what my brother went through. I could use him as an example, and he's always been an example of what not to do. Shit. I go on and on about that, of what not to do. What not to do. And he learned his lesson the hard way. So, but I still find it amazing that he did live to be 72. I never thought, I'll be honest with you, even he said it. I never thought, you know, he'd make it to the next birthday, to the next Christmas. I think this is my last Christmas, he'd say, my last birthday. And I've heard that for so many years, but he just continued to continue on. Amazing, but true. He was a strong guy, let me tell you. Willpower. He did manage to quit smoking many moons ago. And there was a time that he quit drinking, but then, well, unfortunately, as other health problems prevailed, boredom, depression, this, that. He got back into regular drinking, which was not good. There's a lot of sugar. He had diabetes, sugar in drinks. He's like the rum. And, look, it didn't matter. No matter what I told him, and this goes for a lot of people, they don't get it through their head. You could do your best, as I've done even on my shows, to talk about certain things that I've learned, okay? But, you can't force somebody to do something. They have to want to do it on their own. I've learned a lot, but yet certain things like the smoking, I don't want to wait till something actually happens to me. That has to be a big consideration in your life. And unfortunately, some of us continue to do these type of things that are not exactly great for our body and our general function. I would tell my brother all the time, I'd say, would you rather just, suffer and have more things happen to you if you don't stop doing this and stop doing that? I said, you have to live in your own body, okay? Got to a point it was even hard for him to walk because so many muscle problems, it's so many things. I mean, I can't even go into all the ailments that he had and other people that I've met also. Same thing. He's not the only person I've ever met that had multiple problems. But seems like I'm getting your attention because I got a good steady 20 people in here. So I'm glad you're listening. And Papa, if this recording is, you may learn something from this yourself. Because I don't think he's without any little problems. But we won't get into that because that's not what this show is all about. But I still hope you're having a great day, Popeye. I'm always happy to occupy your time. I do good things. You don't even realize I'm doing something great for you, but it gives you something to do and talk about. So a little kudos for that, wouldn't you say, Popeye? Okay, that's as far as I'm going to get with trolls on here. Anybody, you guys enjoy the rest of your day? I certainly am. Remember, no matter what's going on in your life, life goes on. As long as you want it to go on, you can take control of your life. You just have to make an effort to do so. When you are hit with adversity of any kind, and I emphasize that, any kind, take it by the reins and get it under control. Okay? There are avenues you could take. You just got to take them. So any adversity, you face it. You face it head on, nose to nose. That's what you do. And you handle it. No matter how bad it is, you handle it. Take control. And that means everything else in your life. You got to take control of what you do in your life. If you want your life to be better, you have to do things to make it better. You cannot continue down the same path all the time when nothing has worked for you before. You got to interrupt that path and realize that if you've been doing something over and over again that has not helped your situation out, then it would probably make sense to say that, well, maybe you should stop doing that. Whether it's smoking, drinking, being cocky, you do have control of that. Well, some people do. Some people maybe don't. I can't speak for everybody, but I could say that some people just don't. They continue to get themselves into trouble all the time. Continued drinking, continued smoking, illicit drug usage, attitude problems, whatever the hell it might be, eating problems. Oh no, I want to lose weight, but yet you go on camera and you're eating the worst foods in the world. The worst foods in the world that's not going to help you lose weight. High cholesterol, high saturated fats, high sugar, high salt. Hey man, do what you want. Because the fact and truth is, you have the right to do with your body anything that you want to do as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But you are hurting other people. Maybe people that love you and they want to see you hang around for a while. I could say that. Not my situation here. My girlfriend would like to see me be around for a while. She doesn't get in my face and says, drop the fucking pack. No more smoking. She don't do that. And it's good that she doesn't, because that would make it worse. I would just probably be cantankerous and say, fuck that shit. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to smoke until I decide. Because when you're a smoker, that's what you do. Or if you're a drinker, don't tell me what to do. That's an attitude you take. When you do it on your own, that's a whole different thing. And then the people around you would appreciate it. And your significant others will appreciate it. If you have children, they'll appreciate it. Absolutely. I've seen what my mother went through, a number of people that I know of, my brother and people like that. And you have to tackle something on the spot. But the most thing I would recommend to anybody is do maintenance. Go for checkups now and then. Get some ultrasounds, whether it's for kidney stones. I don't care what it is. Have your lungs checked out now and then. And, go for a flow test. I forgot the name of the damn thing. To check which condition your lungs are in, or whatever ailments that you might have or think you have the possibility of having. Spend the money. Spend the money on crappy shit like booze and cigarettes. I mean, go and use some of that money for something good. Get a reasonable idea of where your body stands at your age and what you can do to make things better, whether it's diet, medication, supplementation. I don't care what the hell it is. You got to do something good for yourself besides doing something bad. At least try to balance it out in any way that you can, not to make it worse, but try to find a balance. If you can't quit something, balance it in some way. Of course, it's just better to quit, period, whether you drink or smoke. I mean, that's the ultimate choice you have to make, but, try to find a balance. You could eat some crappy foods, but for example, don't eat them every single day. I love Magnum ice cream bars as an example, but I don't buy that shit every day. We bought a small container of pistachio cashew, which is rare to find, ice cream sitting there in the freezer. You'll probably have it today sometime, but you don't indulge yourself to the point that you're doing it every single freaking day. And that applies to attitude and altitude. If you're short, you're always going to be short. And pretending that you're taller than you are is not going to make you taller. I'll guarantee that. Unless you want to wear lifts like, Sylvester Stallone does. Okay, or your action heroes. You'd be surprised that Sylvester Stallone wears about 3-inch heels or more in his movies. I bet you didn't know that. Well, people do these things. Women, here's one thing I've always had a good laugh at, actually, before I go. And I actually mentioned this before. I always thought it was funny. A woman wanted to impress a man with her boobs. She didn't have big boobs. So she would stuff some, I don't know, tissue in there or something to make it, or even pads, which they have to make them look like they're a lot bigger. But then you'd say, what is the sensibility of this? You're trying to attract a guy. He's trying to say, oh, I got a nice set of knockers here. But then, if you get intimate with the man, you're going to take your clothes off, right? And he's going to see how big your tits are, right? Get my point? Okay. Just be who you are. If you're short, you're always going to be short. You got small tits, unless you want breast augmentation, then you're always going to have small tits. Okay? That's just the way it is. Appreciate what you have and not what you don't have. I guess that's a good way of looking at it in life. Some people are tall, some people are small. You're not going to change that. There's nothing you could do, even stretching, that's going to make you taller than you are. You were born, genetically, you were born to be a certain height. There are some people that are towering giants, but you don't want to be that. Be grateful that you're not 6'8", 6'10", whatever, because those are the people who have the biggest health problems and heart problems. Hey, don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Just apply it to yourself as self-knowledge. Look it up if you don't believe me. Most people who are extremely tall, they don't just have problems with finding the right clothing. It gets physiological. Bones, more problem with joints, heart conditions. If you're well over 6 feet, I'd have to say anything certainly over 6'3" and above, you will have more problems, skeletal and even vascular problems and heart problems, than somebody who is a lot smaller. That's why small dogs tend to live longer than big, large breed dogs. It's the same thing. They have a lot of problems. Small pee-pee, Mrs. Peppermint says. Let me tell you something. Like any tool, do you know how to use it? That's the question I'd pose. When some guy is actually taking a fucking measuring stick and measuring their Peter. Well, I could look at it two ways. You got a big dick, you got a small dick. The question is, what can you do with it? What can you do with it? What can you do with it? You could be very good at what you do. But the same thing applies to tall men. If you got an unusual size pecker, it's not an advantage. It's a disadvantage. Ask the woman that you're trying to fuck and how it would hurt her. And some women will not go out with a guy from experience that had an unusually big size because it could hurt them. True. True blue. So when guys are bragging how big their fucking pecker, it's that fucking big. I hate to tell you, Bobo, but it's a disadvantage. I don't have that syndrome, my friend. I can guarantee you that. I'm an average guy. Just an average guy. I'm happy with all my proportions. Never been a problem. Not for me. Ask her. Ask any woman I've ever been with. No, I don't have an 8 or 10 inch pecker. But I wouldn't want an 8 or 10 inch pecker. You're going to get less women that way, I'll guarantee you. Visually, it might be exciting to a chick, but have intercourse with her? If you're really that big, you see what happens. Who did I hear? I heard a chick on YouTube that was brave enough to talk about this shit. No one we know, but I was listening to a YouTube show, and she basically came out and said, don't come near me. If your fucking pecker is bigger than whatever, how many inches, don't even come near me. You could be the most handsome dude in the world, but don't think you're going to put that big old baseball bat inside my little canal. It ain't going to happen, bro. I've heard a lot of women talk about that too. I can't imagine what it feels like getting your tissues ripped apart and bleeding. Don't mind what you see on porno films. It's not what you think. It's not. Most women would fear a man with a large pecker, that kind of size, 8 inches and above, especially. No, that's not something they're attracted to, not when it's going to go inside her. Get that straight. She's a recipient of that reward, but it doesn't turn out to be a reward at all. She say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Next guy. That ain't going to work for me. And it usually doesn't work for him. Their prowess. I got a big dick. You do, huh? How big is it? Does it work for you? Has it worked for the women you've been with? Hey, like I said, I'm an average guy. I don't have any trouble with the size of my appendage. I don't have trouble with the size, girth, and performance. So there you go. If you got a problem with yours, it sounds like a personal problem to me, but it's not a problem that I have. They always say bigger is better. Yeah, buy a big gulp at 7-Eleven. It's better than a small gulp. There's more sugar. Everything is larger size, bigger burgers, bigger fries, because big is better. No, it's not. That's why all these people are obese, because bigger is better. I won't just have a regular size cheeseburger. I'll get the double, triple whammy. I'll get that extra size, super size fucking Coca-Cola to go with it. That's how people think. And this is how I think. And that's my show. Have a good day. Or try to, guys.